was the scene on the Hill yesterday. Those are progressive Democrats marching from the House to the Senate moments before Senator Joe Manchin joined all Republicans to sink a Democratic bill that would codify abortion rights in all 50 states. Karl Rove with me now. Karl, good morning to you. I know you got a whiteboard on this. In essence, that vote, which failed again, by the way, would overrule any state that has any law that restricts abortion at any point in pregnancy. Do I have that right?
Well, it's a little bit more complicated than that, but yes, that's in essence what it would ultimately do. The proponents of the bill say that it would allow abortions only up to the 23rd or 24th week, but it would allow, the language of the bill would allow literally for somebody to say, I've got a mental issue with having this child, and allow abortions right up to the end. In fact, here's some of the things that it would clearly do. It'd kill conscience laws. Those are the laws that say a doctor or a medical facility that has a religious-based objection to abortion need not perform abortion. That would wipe it out. Parental notification laws would be killed. Parents would no longer be allowed to, state laws requiring that their parents be notified of the decision of a teenage daughter to have an abortion, gone. Waiting periods, a prohibition on gender-based abortion. I'm going to have a boy and I wanted a girl. The bans in the second and third trimesters would be put at risk, if not actually completely undermined. And then the prohibition on federal funding of abortions would go away. We'd now be paying for abortions in America with taxpayer dollars.
Okay, so that has failed, and it will likely not come up again. Meanwhile, what appears to be gaining steam here is, who's responsible for the current economy? And while this is, President Biden's out there on the stump. Call for four guys. He's blamed just about everybody. And we can show you the list now. Putin's war in Ukraine, which probably has a role in it. It's transitory. That was used. COVID, which is partly to blame. Republican policies, you got greedy corporations, computer chips aren't there, climate change, Federal Reserve, on it goes. You write today that Biden casts himself as a champion of lower inflation rates. Here's the subheader on your piece. He blamed everyone from Putin to the Fed for high prices, but voters won't buy it. Why will they not buy it? Why can he not defend and sell his case and position on that?
Well, two things. One is we know the inflation started last year, long before Putin, and we know where it started. We know that it started because we had a number of economists, including Bill Clinton's Treasury Secretary, Larry Summers, say if you pass the American Rescue Plan with $1.9 trillion, it's going to set off inflation that we haven't seen in a generation. Remember, in January of 2021, when Biden comes in, inflation is under 2%. And today it is 8.3%. And what happened is the classic definition of inflation is too much money chasing too few goods. And what happened with that American Rescue Plan was we dumped $2 trillion into the economy, pumping up demand, while, putting too much money out there, and it chased too few goods, and that's the classic definition and exactly what happened. People get that on a level. They think that when you depreciate the currency and you spend too much money you don't have, that something bad is going to happen. And we see it in the polls. President Biden's approval on the economy, 36%. Disapproval, 61%. On inflation, 28%, and disapproval, 67%. Those are very strong numbers. And the problem for the president is that independents, the swing voters who are going to decide the 2022 election, think a lot more like Republicans than they do Democrats. 68% of Democrats approve of the president's handling of the economy, but only 9% of Republicans and 30% of independents. On inflation, think about this. Only 54% of Democrats approve of it. Barely a majority of Democrats approve of his handling of inflation. Only 7% of Republicans and only 23% of independents. That's why the president's in deep trouble on it, and why that message of it ain't my fault, it's the Federal Reserve, it's Ukraine, it's the pandemic, it's blah, 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 blah. People are going to say, no, you're the guy in charge. You're supposed to solve the problem, and you're supposed to have an answer to solve it.
That last point on this, if you listened to Maria 20 minutes ago, what's starting to settle in here now, the economists are saying, the inflation number, maybe you can make the argument that it's peaking in some areas, but it's not over and it's not done with. And the issue there is that inflation could stick with us through the remainder of this year. and you think about how that could arrange the American economy, and when you're the sitting president, that's a tough thing to fight when that tide's rolling in. Karl, thank you so much. We'll talk to you later in the week.
You bet.
Right? Karl Rove in Austin.
Thank you, Bill.
Hi, everyone. I'm Brian Kilmeade. I want you to do me a favor. I want you to click to subscribe to the Fox News YouTube page. This is the only way that I know for sure that you're not going to miss any great commentary, any great news bites, any great interviews coming your way on Fox. You can get it all here on YouTube. So subscribe right now.